Who up twistin' they Wonderland FR.
Aru, thank you for the sub with Prime Gaming. That is an epic gaming moment. Thank you. I appreciate it. Who up twisting a Wonderland for real? You know, that's a good question, Aru. And we're about to find that out today. Bum 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 bum. Do 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 do. Dun 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 dun. Ahoy, Stacy! Hello there! Merry Christmas! What brings you here? Happy Halloween! Right now, we're Fastra's twisted characters are doing some lesson. No, what is this? Alchemy lessons. It is Ween, Stacy, and I got my McDonald's Sprite. Me and DatOldGuy went to McDonald's earlier for dinner, and I got a McCrispy, delicious chicken sandwich thing with some fries. It was good. What's that? Chips? Oh, you mean for French fries? I think they call those les French fries. Dude, I can't hear that old guy. Uh-oh. That is not good. Let me get that sorted. Whoa! That old guy with the tier 1 sub. Thank you.
How long?
58 months of subscriptions. Wait, I'm muted. Yes, Fastra, you're muted, Stra. Quasimodo Football is muted. Microchips in Britain must be called micro crisps.
That's funny.
Fastra, unmute yourself. When is Fastra gonna unmute herself?
He's not interested. Don't worry.
Macaroni needs to show for me to change the screen. It's been showing.
There you are.
Fastra?
Yes.
DatOldGuy, convey the message.
I can hear. She asked if I could hear her, and
Now I
Looks
can.
like Quasimodo's working.
Quasimodo,
Yay!
you're here. Say Happy Halloween to everybody.
Happy Halloween!
Please
What
try again.
happened?
A stronger internet connection. Come on,
Yay,
Fastra.
just left it for just a second.
You should have known. Should have known, Fastra.
My warmie doesn't smell good.
Oh no!
It's just a new smell that's associated with this, and it'll wear off. You just
No,
got
it's
to kind of
supposed to
use it.
smell like this. It's supposed to smell like lavender, but it smells like ugly lavender.
Remember when his little was really small?
Yeah.
He had no idea.
Okay.
Why can't I hear the game? Oh.
Like I just want him to be. I just want my warmie to be. No, they all smell like lavender stick amethyst. That was all their smell. That it's ingrained in their molecules on the whatever technology on the inside of them.
Whatever you say, Fastra.
Oh, throwing.
Throwing.
Can't stay for long since I'm watching Ghost Adventures with my mom at the moment. Ooh, that sounds fun. Hope you enjoy, Mr. Throlin. I hope everyone had a good day and happy Halloween. Happy Halloween, Throlin. And thank you for the hydrate time. I got my water bottle right here.
Does it count if you're hydrating with Coke?
It's better than nothing. Happy Ween, Throlin, says Stacy Joanne. Are you ready for more epic voice dubs, everyone?
Okay. So they were like trying to come up with like music stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can use this is what the lullaby sounded like where we're from," and Leona was actually singing. And then we started this one where they're like in the cooking with Sally, I think.
Will we be able to finish this before they close the chapter?
Not even close. This is still book 3, and we still have all of book 4.
Oh, so we're not going to be able to get to it before they close it?
Well, I can just skip through the stories, but we can still get a little section done for right now.
Quasimodo Gaming. Happy Ween to you also, Stacy, says Throlin. Non-stop stream, let's go! Wait, what do you mean non-stop stream?
Because we're going to do all of it.
Book
3 and do 4.
Stacy's ready to follow the story. She said she actually is following the story and she enjoys it. So we got a fan of our twisted dubbing of the story to get it finished. Yeah, I see. That sounds pretty good, Stacy.
Will we still be able to access it after today?
Yeah, it's just like fun to have it like unlock, and like see it do and like see it get us the reward and when we finish it and all that.
Like the Soldier Boys. Ooh.
Yeah. I'm eating cookie dough bites right now. Okay. So
Nice.
we did this one already, but I just want to start it over because this is like the little beginning of this section.
Okay. Did the previous members finish gathering ingredients in the morning?
Yeah, they did. I heard it went pretty smoothly with Apple and Riddle's botanical knowledge.
It helped that many of the plants in this area were similar to medicinal herbs I'd seen in encyclopedias before. And Apple was able to fill in any gaps in my familiarity with his wide breadth of knowledge about edible plants. Good. Leona supplied everything else. Everything else? What kind of non-plant foods are we talking? Because I feel like all the stuff you can hunt around here is all
sorts. Gathered everything pretty quick, actually. He also did a great job of listening to Sally and engaging her in conversation. I was surprised to see it.
Oh, yes. So I don't know what to do because the official English pronunciation is Leona. But, his like original Japanesely pronounced name is Leona. So I'm torn. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I like how Leona sounds better.
What's your take, that old guy?
Same. It's because I'm fluent in Japanese.
Stacey got the idea. Just continue with the way you did before.
That's a good idea, Stace. I'll do that. I was quoting Bob. That's why I said it like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That Leona was such a well-mannered young gentleman.
Are we talking about the same person? That's an acerbic remark, though I can sympathize with the sentiment.
Oh, sorry, I have cookie dough bites. Shall we get started? All the cookware is over here. You're welcome to use whatever you like.
All the equipment made me think this place was a lab at first, but it really is just kitchenware.
For sure. And there's a healthy selection of spices, too. Sorry, Jamil. You don't need any explanation there, do you?
Oh wait, Stacy, you like Jade, right? Like the one of the polite one of the twins? Because very soon after this event ends, the event that comes after this one is one starring him.
Oh.
And we get to see his mom, and she's very beautiful.
Nice.
Okay, back to the story.
Huh? Oh, I don't mind at all. Oh, Mama Jade! Adorable. Yes. I certainly wasn't expecting to spend Halloween cooking together with you, Trey. I think I could learn a lot from you. I'm glad we ended up grouped together.
I could say the same. I hear the Scarabia students talk all the time about how good of a chef you are and how vast your repertoire is. I'm mainly a confectioner, so I can't exactly claim an across-the-board mastery of cooking. Don't expect too much out of me beyond the sweets. I hope you'll share plenty of pointers with me today.
You give me too much credit. To be honest, fancy party food is not my specialty. I'm especially bad at plating things. I do fine with home cooking, but still. I find it impressive the way you whip up enough food to serve a crowd at a big tea party.
Really? I guess we both got gaps in our skill set, huh?
Maybe so. As they say, the grass is always greener on the other side. Whoa, who are these mature dudes? Oh, never mind, my bad. They were talking like such typical guys with, like, careers and stuff. I mistook them for actual adults for a second. Trey and Jamil are basically the archetypes of functioning members of society at our school.
I mean, technically, at this point, Jamil would be 18 years old, so he is an adult. But still.
Yeah. And yet they still have that secret ulterior motive vibe that has Vice House Warden written all over it. Meanwhile, there's this guy. A spritz of frog's breath? How much is a spritz exactly?
Depends on the frog's mood.
Miss Sally, the point of a recipe is to be reliably reproducible. How would one even measure the volume of a gaseous substance?
Oh, you do that by the length of their breath.
Thanks for the stretching time, Stick Amethyst. Wouldn't that mean results that differ by each individual frog?
Well, I suppose so.
Yep, totally useless. Bullheaded beyond belief. I wasn't expecting the Taskmaster to be so singularly bad in the kitchen. I'm hearing an awful lot of colorful commentary coming our way. You must have quite a bit of free time on your hands, Idia. Let's see how good you are in the kitchen, then. No thanks. I'm way more at home in the peanut gallery.
What's the peanut gallery, do you know?
Yeah.
That's
What-
not food. Halloween Town in Dr. Finkelstein's lab.
You know, come to think of it, I don't recall ever seeing you in the cafeteria, Idia. Ever? Don't tell me you haven't even been once since you enrolled. I mean, I've definitely been, when I absolutely have no other choice.
The way you're talking makes me think that's a pretty rare occurrence. I don't see you at the mystery shop on the school vendor either. What do you normally eat?
Huh? What do you guys care? Leave me alone.
I care. I'm curious to learn what people in Twisted Wonderland eat, other than cow's milk.
Okay. I'll talk. Now please stop crowding into my personal space and staring. Okay, so, I mainly have, jelly drinks, powders you mix into water. I also eat, packaged snacks and cup noodles. That sort of thing.
Is that describing my diet?
Yes.
That's not food!
Food in Twisted Wonderland really is unusual.
Don't let him mislead you, Sally.
Idiot. I'm not sure any of that counts as food.
Whoa, Trey. I think this is the most intense expression of disapproval I've ever seen on your face. Why?
Why wouldn't I disapprove? Jelly drinks? Butter mixed into water? Packaged snacks and instant noodles? Come on! With foods like those, you'll never build your jaw muscles.
That's not the point! That's not the point.
It isn't? But strong jaws contribute to dental health. Chewing is an important thing to do for your teeth.
Why is my dental health of your concern in the first place? Alright, I think we can put Trey's personal interests aside. The real issue at hand is that none of those foods provide your body with useful nutrients. The human body requires specific nutrients, which you should consume in carefully measured quantities to avoid excesses or deficiencies. That's just extreme in a different way. It's not enough to just fill your stomach or to simply get the right nutrients. The most important thing is flavor. Enjoying delicious food is what cuisine is all about.
Completely agree, Jamil. After all, you can't get anyone to eat food if it isn't appetizing.
Exactly. Which is why you should ignore people complaining about food looking too boring. I'm getting dogpiled over here. Okay, what do all you highbrow connoisseurs normally eat? I order the cafeteria's Blue Plate specials. They have professionally crafted nutritional balance which fits my criteria. On days when we have tea parties, I calculate a day's worth of nutritional requirements and tailor some buffet offerings to fulfill them.
Blue plate specials and buffets. That all sounds so fancy. Is there anything you found especially good lately?
I recently had a particularly delicious meat pie. You're from the Queendom of Roses, right? I thought that region was famous for its pies. Surely you've had your fill of good pies in your life. If this one stuck out to you, it must have been very high quality.
Pies they serve in the cafeteria are surprisingly good, even for those of us hailing from the Queendom.
Why was the first half of that, very muffled?
I don't know. The pies they serve in the cafeteria are surprisingly good, even for those of us hailing from the Queendom. One of the chefs once told me that they learned how to make them from the best.
Oh? I hardly ever see you eating pies in the cafeteria. I thought you didn't like them.
It's not that at all. I just sample a lot of sweets made with pie dough. I tend not to order in the cafeteria.
Pies, Interesting. What do you typically eat, Trey?
I just eat whatever sticks out to me on a given day, but the cafeteria Salisbury steak is pretty good.
Yes, I like it as well. It's hard to get it, though. When you come in too late, it tends to be sold out already.
Yeah, no kidding. It's one of the hottest selling dishes there. Juicy ground beef with a rich, thick sauce, and it's about as big as your hand.
Oof, I'm getting indigestion just listening to you describe it.
Not that hard on the stomach, actually. You should try it sometime, Edea. It's so good, it leaves you wanting more. I could eat that every day.
Every day?
Every day.
Uh-oh. Myrtle got upset.
See, it's just sad when it doesn't do the chung when after you complete it, it's just like nah. And then it's done, and then it's just here.
Yeah, they just kind of show us.
More game than us. Halloween Town, Dr. Finkelstein's lab.
Trey, surely you haven't broken Rule 186, never eat a hamburger on Tuesday.
It was just a figure of speech, and aren't you being a little liberal with that, with what constitutes a hamburger?
So, Trey's a fan of Salisbury steak. What kind of menu offerings do you enjoy, Jamil?
Oh, I don't really eat in the cafeteria much. I prep a boxed lunch for someone every morning, so I make one for myself on the side.
Ooh, a boxed lunch. That sounds delightful. I make those on occasion myself. I'd love to learn more from you about it.
I'm not sure I could teach you much. I don't make anything all that fancy. I just throw something together using whatever ingredients happen to be on hand at the time.
You're talking like that's simple, but that sounds harder than pre-planned cooking.
I suppose it does require improvisational skills not everyone has. I used to take requests, but that came with its own set of problems. I'd ask Kaleem what he wanted to eat the next day, and he'd say, "Oh, just make something simple like croquets," as if it's that easy. He has no idea how much work goes into making anything deep fried.
No kidding. Making deep fried food first thing in the morning sounds rough.
Is there a reason you can't simply prepare it the night before? Yes, fried food loses its crispiness the longer it sits out. And there's already a delay between when you make a boxed lunch and when it gets eaten. You should at least fry it the day it's being served.
It's definitely best when it's fresh. I prefer to serve food as soon as it's done, then hear what people think about it, but things just don't work out that way.
Exactly. I've been curious why you were asking us about the meals we enjoyed. There's a certain someone you want to cook for, isn't there?
What? No! Who said anything about Jack?
Aha! So it's him. Dude, even a literal skeleton's got more game than us. What bearings do games have on this discussion? Well, there are dishes best served fresh, and dishes that are better if you let them sit. For soups, I do make those the day before. They're better when you stew them until the ingredients start coming apart. Soups are healthy and rich in nutrients. I put them in insulated containers for Kaleem.
Actually, I made soup for lunch today. Would you be willing to try some?
You mean like a taste test?
Exactly. I'd really appreciate any pointers you might have.
You want me to put a spoonful of soup this color into my mouth? The spoon's got holes in it. The soup's draining right out.
Oh, sorry. Wrong spoon. Here, use one of the normal ones.
Miss Sally, if you have a defective spoon, wouldn't it make sense to throw it away?
Please don't. I do need it at times.
When would you ever need a holy spoon?
Anyway, let me know what you think, Jamil.
Alright. I'll try it. Don't, Jamil! Have you forgotten what happened to us last night? Sally's gone out of her way to help us. It wouldn't be fair to let her do so much and offer nothing in return.
That's very considerate of you, but you shouldn't risk yourself. You should put your own health first.
It's fine. Thank you, but please don't stop me. Here goes nothing. Well, rip Jamil. It's good! Huh?
Huh?
Really? Oh, I'm so delighted.
Yes, ma'am. It's a delicious flavor with plenty of depth. So this is how soups are seasoned in Halloween Town. It's both distinctive and stimulating. I'm actually feeling inspired by this. May I take charge of cooking other dishes based on this flavor?
Certainly, by all means.
Jamil, are you really alright? Are you feeling strange at all? Nausea, palpitations, dizziness, chills, or any other unusual symptoms? I'm fine.
That cookie guy.
Seriously? There's no way you're fine after taking a sip of soup from such a bizarre odor.
I didn't. Huh?
Huh?
The spoon with the holes was still sitting out, so I just used that to take a pretend sip.
Pretend sip? All that stuff about being delicious and having a deep flavor was a lie?
Didn't you just say it wouldn't be fair to offer nothing in return for all she's done for us? Look, what do you want? Between that color and that smell, there's no way I was actually going to eat it. But we now have full kitchen authority. Let's use it and make dishes we can actually stomach. I take back what I said about flavor being the most important part of cuisine. Appearance, smell, and taste are all vitally important elements when cooking. Dang, he really did that. Just pretended to have a sip.
Well, I feel like even with the holes in the spoon, you should still be able to taste it.
Yeah.
At least. Comedic letdown.
That's me.
Halloween Town in Town Hall. No longer the laboratory.
But there's the
Because he's
doctor.
here.
Yeah.
What manner of activities do you engage in this morning, my liege? I would love to hear tales of your exploits.
We settled upon the idea of using plants to dye Finkelstein's drab fabric to make banners.
I'm like Frankenstein.
What did I say?
Dean.
Like dye Finkelstein's drab fabric to make banners.
I still don't appreciate you calling it drab.
Plant-based dyes, huh? I've worked with those before. With my grandmother. Do we have all the components and tools we need?
We gathered a selection of plants and chemicals useful for dyeing this morning. We don't have all the tools yet. Tools for dyeing? That would be a pot, tongs, gloves.
Stacey says, I miss Grimm.
I know, I don't know what I'm doing, but this story sure is drab. Without me.
Yeah, Grim should appear more.
Well, just keep in mind you can always slip them in every now and then.
Good point. Wow, Sebek, you knew that off the top of your head.
Have you done this before?
Not personally, but I've seen Lily and Silver dye curtains together. Some sauce got splatter on the curtains and stained them 3 different colors. No amount of washing could remove the blemishes. They decided to re-dye the curtains.
Oh yes, I vaguely recall this tale. I said I'd give them new curtains, but Lilia seemed enthralled at the idea of putting a unique new spin on things.
Yes, sir. I remember that well. How did the sauce even get on the curtains?
And I want to know how it stained them 3 different colors.
I do have a pot at home, but I imagine it's being used for cooking at the moment. The witches have a bigger one, though. You could use that.
Witches, you say? Oh, Halloween Town has its own magic practitioners?
Mm-hmm. You're in for a treat. They look just like you boys.
Well, that means they're exceptional and incredibly beautiful mages.
What kind of magic do they use? I can't wait to meet them.
Wait, I feel as though I've been through this. I feel as though I've been through this conversation before.
Well, what are we all standing around for? Let's go pay those witches a visit. They're typically somewhere around here.
Whoa. That gust just now, it almost knocked my hat right off.
That wasn't a random breeze. That was the witches on their brooms. Hello up there! Have you got a second?
They're flying down out of the sky. So these are the witches.
What brings you here, Doctor? And with children in tow? Is there something you need?
In what way do they look like us?
Their faces are scary.
I knew it. It's what's called a build-up to comedic letdown, right? I just learned that phrase recently.
I have a favor to ask. Here's the deal.
These are witches? Do you think they use the same brand of magic we do?
It's hard to say. I barely sensed any magic from them at all. And the denizens of Halloween Town were shocked at Graves' display of magic. It would seem the magic employed in this world differs somewhat from our own.
I suppose the town itself is such a strange place. There's no sense expecting anything here to have rhyme or reason.
What's wrong? I thought you liked frog's breath.
Nothing's more suspicious.
The tips of my toes. In Halloween Town, Town Hall.
Now I see. You want to borrow our cauldron? I forgot my other voice. I don't.
It's just like that.
What happened? No, I had a distinct voice for which bee, and I don't remember what I did.
We're happy to lend it to you for the sake of Halloween.
Ah, excellent. That will be a great help. We can do the actual dyeing in the plaza, so we'll need to carry the cauldron there.
Sounds like quite a chore. It's far too heavy for us to lift.
We'll carry it then. We wouldn't want to waste too much time on this. My liege, you rest here. I wouldn't dare ask you to engage in manual labor beneath your station. Come along now, Phil, Apple. Now, see here.
Thanks, boys. Our home's a bit of a ways out from here, though. You can use magic, right? Let's fly there. You can borrow our broom.
What? You expect us to fly these? On these? Well, does this seem feasible to you?
I'm better at flight than any other subject, but it's going to be a challenge. What about you, Sebek?
Can try if I absolutely must, but
Why are you frowning? Is there a problem?
brooms are meant to assist with flying. They're essentially a conduit for one's magical energy. Magical energy flows differently through different forms and materials. We can't just use any random broom. Hence, why the brooms at our school are all standardized in the interest of leveling the playing fields, like our magical pens. The school brooms we use are specially designed to be easy to fly on and accommodate all students' needs. These brooms, however,
They're definitely going to be hard to handle.
agreed. They're
Sebek!
brittle and gnarled. They look less like brooms and more like tree branches.
Huh. So much for the convenience of magic.
Don't misunderstand, Doctor. There's a common amateur excuse from freshmen who rely overmuch on their brooms. It's true that magical implements such as brooms and carpets can either facilitate flight or make them more difficult. But such obstacles can be overcome with enough training. All this bulking is embarrassing.
Indeed. With sufficient magical reserves, it's possible to fly without the use of any implements at all.
That's just you being absurdly powerful. Regardless, this is a good opportunity for you, Apple. Fly on that broom. You can treat it as a special flight class training.
Really? But this is so sudden.
What's the matter? Are you scared of failure?
What? I'm not scared! If that's how it's gonna be, I can't back down now. Let's do this, Sebek!
It doesn't take much to get under your skin, does it? If you're willing to do it, I can hardly let myself be outdone. Very well. Behold as I fully apply myself to the task.
I'm floating, but... Whoa! I'm wobbling too much! I'm gonna fall! Ow. So much for that. I can't control it at all. This is worse than when I first learned to fly on a broomstick. This broom's just too quirky.
What an utter embarrassment, or at least that's what I'd say, if not for Sebek's failure to even get in the air. Are you even looking? Observe!
Huh? Observe what?
The tips of my toes!
The tips of your toes? Oh, you're just barely floating off the ground.
You're right. Your little toe is ever so slightly hovering.
Like you can take a nice slow flight.
Well done, Sebek.
You're praising him for that? Are you this lenient with all the students in your dorm?
It hasn't been long since Sebek first manifested his magic. He's still essentially an infant, yet look at him now. The same person who cried tears of frustration at his inability to use magic is flying on difficult-to-use broom. That kind of growth is quite impressive. It's a truly moving sight.
My liege, that was a long time ago.
That was meant to be a compliment. Do you find it disagreeable?
No, sir. I'll remember your generous words with all due gratitude. But still, he's that happy to see such a minuscule achievement. I clearly have much more work to do.
I can tell whether that look on Sebek's face. I can't tell whether that look on Sebek's face is him laughing or crying.
He's a rude, overbearing, obnoxious little cucumber, but I respect his drive to improve, if nothing else.
Did you think of Larry the Cucumber too?
No, but
Yes.
I like that he used that word.
Friendly rivalry. Following town hall.
All right, the pot's in place and we've got everything else we need. Shame we ended up having to haul it all the way here on foot, though.
What was the point of wasting time on all that flight training?
The witches were nice enough to loan you their things. Quit your grumbling!
Fine. Let's just get on with the dying. Wait. We can't simply use the pot as is.
What? Why not?
It's iron. It'll dull the vivid hues of all those ingredients we gathered.
Wow.
That old cookie.
The pigments in the plants will blend with the iron and make all the fabric a sooty color.
Indeed. That's exactly right!
Come to think of it, I don't think the pot my Mima used was iron either.
Why are the rest of you standing around with your jaws agape? You may have some fancy magic tricks, but clearly you have much to learn in every other regard. From where I'm standing, even Malleus is just a baby sorely lacking in basic knowledge.
Oh my goodness. Sebek's gonna lose his mind.
At the end of the day, what really matters is science!
You're right.
Oh. He dares to lecture the great Malleus? What a rude monster!
To summarize, we cannot allow the plant-based dye solution to come into physical contact with the pot, yes? In which case, how do we avoid that? I would like to learn for future reference.
Oh, figure something out with your magic.
Weren't you just talking about science being what really matters?
The key to is to strike a proper balance.
Something about that logic doesn't quite add up, but I suppose I could form a magical film over the pot's surface while we're using it.
All right. Now to dry the dyed fabric. It would dry quickly if we hung it at the top of the tall tree, but it seems difficult to reach. For you and Apple, perhaps. We've seen your skills firsthand. Step back and let me and Malleus take care of this. I couldn't possibly ask Malleus to engage in physical labor. Come on, Apple, let's do this.
What? How do I figure into this?
Bill just insulted you. Are you going to take that? Have you no pride in your flight magic? Are you content to be dismissed as a mage who can't fly without the aid of a broom? To be branded with the stigma of failure? How can you face your fellow dormmates who shared your flightcraft struggles? Or your fellow Spelldrive Club members? Will you let an opportunity to vindicate yourself slip by? Now is the chance to demonstrate your prowess and prove Bill wrong. I hardly said anything harsh enough to deserve such a response.
Yeah,
Well, when you put it that way... Okay, I'll do it.
It's the spirit. It's just a flight up a tree. Those spuddlings could be so embarrassingly hammy.
Sebek certainly seems to be enjoying himself quite a bit.
Is that right? He seems like the same rude lout as ever to me.
I hardly ever see Sebek conversing with people from outside Briar Valley. It's especially rare to see him engaging with his fellow freshmen. Do you not see how excited he is when speaking with Felmir?
Is he really? Well, I suppose it's good for Apple to gain a source of friendly rivalry. With that settled, let's get to it. The brooms should be around here. Hmm? What's this?
Ah, that's another Halloween prop. Hee. That's used for a real spectacle. One that'll knock your socks off.
But what is it? A straw dog?
It's a horse. Can't you tell?
Now that you mention it, I can kind of see the horse resemblance. I think.
What? In what way is this a horse? The leg positions, the joints, the ear placement, it's all inaccurate. I know you're not in the equestrian club, but this should be patently obvious with even a cursory look. You still don't grasp it?
You know, Sebek, this has been on my mind for a while now.
Oh.
Sebek?
Give me a second. I have to plug my phone in before it runs out. Yeah.
Glad you noticed this time instead of just leaving the call.
Where's my cord? Here it is. Like last time, I got a warning. I just ignored it before.
Yeah.
You ignored it? How could you? What is it? Do you have a question? Very well. If you entreat my wisdom, I may be willing to impart some upon you.
You're kind of insufferable.
Insufferable? Insufferable? I was correcting you out of a goodness of my heart. This is the thanks I get.
I never asked you to. I know what a real horse looks like. You didn't really need to butt in.
What? You clearly have no manners if you would return goodwill with ill. Oh, humans.
I was so certain he was enjoying conversation with his fellow freshmen. Perhaps I read into it overmuch.
Really? Nothing to worry about. Graveyard.
Is that the middle one?
No.
Wait, I have my tab open still.
Good.
Okay.
Of course you
So-
do.
So lock is the one on the left, and shock is the one in the middle. So barrel is you that codes cookie guy.
Man, helping these guys out sounds boring.
I know. We should break them. Really throw them for a loop. Don't be stupid. Jack can beat us black and green. Then what do we do?
Oh, I got it. Let's tell the boss about them and
Ah, there you are. Cool hat. You mean that long hat, Stacy? Would you wear a hat that tall? Can you repeat that line, Shock?
No. If it isn't our pal Scully, what's up? Are you here to help us?
I suppose, in a manner of speaking. I'd like to help in achieving a holiday true to what Halloween is supposed to represent.
Huh?
And I'm here to discuss that with you lovely, wonderful children. I'd be ever so grateful if you'd be willing to hear me out. And you have a cool hat.
Halloween Town Hall.
Thanks to me, we finally got a catchy tune.
You're in rather high spirits, Grim.
Thanks to you. You didn't lift a paw to help.
Yeah, Stacy, it's Grim! He showed up! He danced! Zero looked like he was having a blast playing with him, too. Everything's going swimmingly on our end. What about your group, Doctor? Well, will we be ready in time for Halloween?
Our preparations are flawless. You and Jack will be amazed tomorrow. Just you wait.
The food prep is also coming along nicely.
Are you sure? If I know you, you're undoubtedly up to no good. You boys had best watch out. Sally is often trying to poison me. I've lost count of how many times she's slipped nightshade into my food to knock me out.
Does Nightshade have that effect?
It most certainly does. It makes me sleep so soundly, hardly anything could wake me up.
That's the first I've heard of that particular effect. Perhaps it's unique to Halloween Town.
Sally, you're not plotting anything this time, are you?
Don't be silly, Doctor. You've got nothing to worry about. Jamil put in a great amount of work, actually. Why, he was working so hard, I had hardly had any occasion to help at all.
Yes, you can rest easy. Trey and I are taking full responsibility for all the preparations.
That's very heartening to hear. You have my gratitude.
How are things on your end? The doctor said your preparations were flawless, but I'd prefer to see it myself for my own peace of mind. That said, I'd like to believe that between Ville's fashion sense and Malleus's knowledge, there's nothing too strange afoot.
I would never make Malleus personally tend to such a trifling task. Everything's proceeding smoothly thanks to my efforts, and will be finished in short order.
Oh, really? Very nice. Hey, I'm the one who put in the work. I did enough patchwork for both me and Sebek. I contributed a ton.
Excuse me, it was I who fixed up that shoddy, gaudy banner you made.
And it was me that stepped in when you got so bogged down in detail work that you weren't gonna be done in time.
I worked the hardest.
No, I did! Okay, guys, you've both made your point. It's not a competition.
But it is. I must freshen be so short-tempered. No kidding. It'd make my life a whole lot easier if they'd learn to cooperate a little more.
And their attitudes. They're all walking cringe compilation generators, yet they act like everyone else is the embarrassment. Such is life. They'll mellow with age, trust me. Am I actually hearing this from you people? Do humans just lose the ability to self-reflect at some point? It's certainly strange to see. We should be careful not to wind up that way ourselves.
A delightful sight. Halloween Town in Dr. Finkelstein's lab.
Okay, time for a quick break before we get to the finishing touches. And then tomorrow, it's finally Halloween!
I can't wait.
Ditto. This is gonna be a Halloween for the books, the kind that brings a tear to the eye, a tear of terror. Yeah.
Whoa. Here's hoping that this time tomorrow we'll be back in Twisted Wonderland.
Oh, what Aru said.
Before we get to the what now? The finishing touches, let's go!
I totally forgot about that name.
Yes. Oh my goodness, Aru, that was awesome. I didn't know this game was that epic.
Get out of here. Go on, Scram. I keep telling you to stop following me. What's this? Is Zero attached to Leona?
He turned his attention to Leona while Groom was dancing earlier.
Oh, it seems they formed a fast friendship after playing a merry game of chase.
A fast friendship? Leona. Jeez, you liked a nap. Leave me alone here and go play with this. Yap. Here, geez, you like to yap. Leave me alone. Here, go play with this. Preferably someplace far away. Why do you keep coming back?
He wants you to throw the bone again. Perhaps he thinks you assented to playing with him. Ha ha ha! What a delightful sight. You know, that outfit makes Leona look a little too I don't know, mature? Suave? Honestly, it kind of weirds me out sometimes. It's like looking at a stranger. So seeing him actually like the same old easily annoyed Leona is oddly reassuring in a way.
I'm not certain what that's a step up. That said, I suppose a bit of levity like being hounded by a strange dog could do him some good. True. When he was just standing around, these clothes seemed to suit him so well, it was a little scary. Your words, not mine.
I've brought some tea.
My, what a nice aroma. What kind of tea is this?
It's made from dry thistles. We found a lot of them, and Sally and I picked them together. Whoa! What in the world? There's some white haze around my head. Oh, is that you, Zero? What is it? Why are you circling around me? Maybe he's drawn to the smell of delicious food. Be nice to him, Jamil. I was looking at the mouth flapping. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to... Whoa, hey! Stop that! No licking my face!
Come on now. The little doggy's taking a shine to you. Don't be mean. Be a pal. Oh, dear Zero. I'm afraid Leona's all lonely now that he can't play with you. Hey, don't quit egging him on.
Halloween Town, or you go into that.
That's the spirit. Together, we're making this the best Halloween ever.
Oh,
We did fast last time.
okay. I think that's it.
Order of operations in geometry. Halloween Town Town Hall.
The more I watch Zero, the more he reminds me of a real dog.
Yeah, that reminds me of when I was a little kid. I used to really want a puppy. My parents said we couldn't keep a dog in a place that serves food, so I let go of the idea, but they're just so cute.
I never knew dogs could be so charming. I would enjoy sharing your company as well.
No, you guys are doing it all wrong. You can't just reach out with an open hand like that. You'll scare the little doggo. Edie is right. Smaller creatures can be skittish and easily frightened by contact of that sort. Trey, Jade, you must be courteous in your approach, like you're dealing with a hedgehog. Yep. Start by offering a closed hand for him to sniff and inspect. Once he's done inspecting you and he relaxes his guard, you can pet away. There's an order of operations here. You seem well versed in this. Have you had a pet dog before? No, but I'm fully trained after watching hundreds of videos of people playing with dogs. Here, I'll show you how it's done.
No.
Hmm.
It is the smile just immediately jumping from his face.
He bolted.
Yup, saw that coming.
Right now, can't we have a moment's peace to enjoy our tea?
Right? You
What?
said right.
Really now?
There you
Can't
go.
we have a moment's peace to enjoy our tea? This is an embarrassing display from the entire group. Actually, the entire group isn't present. Is Scully not back yet? He said he was going to help the kiddo trio.
I saw them borrowing pillows and blankets from the witches.
They're going to be a while. They've got a lot of stuff to get from all over town. Oh, that reminds me. I've got guest bedding at my house. I just need to go get it for you. In fact, let me take care of that right now. Would you mind managing what's left here? Of course, Jack.
Don't worry about a thing.
Wonderful. We're so close to Halloween. Keep up the good work, everyone. There's something sitting on the chair. Is this...
It's a little bottle. It's the little basket that Sally set up to give to Jack.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, like when she put it through the window, and then like they did a little pulley thing up to it.
Oh, I see. It looks delicious. I happily accept. Did you see what was in that basket Skellington was carrying?
A boxed meal. Sally made it for him.
I think he liked it, Sally. Isn't that nice?
Oh, yes.
Food! Where's my share?
We'll eat later.
Is it just me, or do you detect a hint of bittersweetness in the air?
And did you know my Jade voice is like almost the exact same as my Sally voice, but it's just the level of deepness that I give it.
No.
Like it comes from like the same area of my throat.
Yeah.
Like,
Say a word with deepness.
Is it just me? Is it just me? It has that kind of airy but polite. So just make it a little deeper. Like that.
Yeah.
Which I do.
Is it just me, or do you detect a hint of bittersweetness in the air?
I certainly do. I'd love to make a deal. That is, to assist Sally in achieving her wish. Seriously, guys, don't do anything tacky.
The air is bittersweet. Is the air edible? Give me some of that.
Not even you can eat that, Grim.
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, you've got a lot of learning left to do, Furball.
Huh? What are you guys smirking for? It's getting on my nerves.
Probably the same answer, but just to check real quick.
Mm-hmm. Dun, 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 dun.
Yep.
I love new things. Following town, Jack's house.
Spare blankets, pillows. Let's see. Maybe I should bring Zero's dog bed too. Haha, I'm just kidding. I would never loan out your bed like that. Now, let's take a quick break for dinner, and we can rejoin the others. Yeah, I know, Zero. This will be a Halloween like nothing we've ever seen before. Tomorrow's going to be a fantastic day. That was the doorbell. I wonder who it is. Come in.
Who is it?
Mickey Mouse.
Pardon the intrusion, Mr. Skellington. Ah, Scully. Make yourself at home. Is it just you? Whoa.
I didn't mean to.
I don't see the prankster trio with you. What's the matter? You don't look too happy. Is something troubling you? Yes, actually. I'd like to reaffirm something with you. Might I ask you a few questions? Sure, go ahead. I'm an open book. Mr. Skellington, you said you wanted to make this year's Halloween a lively one, yes? Yep, that's the plan for tomorrow. And you said that doing nothing but following traditions was boring. I sure did. And that Halloween was not a holiday to be spent in solitude. Absolutely. Then, Mr. Skellington, do you truly believe the others' version of Halloween is better? Do you believe that a raucous Halloween with crowds of people is the best kind? Pause your time. Thanks, Dick Amethyst. Rather than the solemn, noble Halloweens you've conducted, the ones we so revered. Do you believe their modern version of Halloween to be superior? Do I have the right of it? Yes, you do. I love new things. I'm genuinely glad you folks from Twisted Wonderland are here. Tomorrow's guaranteed to be the greatest of Halloweens, like nothing anyone's seen before. I see. I understand now. Oh? Have I answered all your questions? Yes. I understand the heart of the matter. I thought it wasn't possible. That I must be mistaken, surely. So I'm immensely grateful for your clarification. You've helped me reach a decision. Really? I'm not sure what you're talking about, but hey, good for you. Yes, good indeed. Oh dear, where are my manners? I've interrupted your mealtime. By all means, continue eating. I've actually brought something to drink. Would you care for a glass? Oh, Scully, what's going on?
He's being pretty sneaky.
I thought you were going to say Scully-ish.
I actually, that word did cross through my head, but I changed it at the last second.
The true Halloween. Halloween time is
Jack's house.
That was the most muffled you've ever been in the history of screams.
Halloween Town in Jack's house.
What happened, Codes?
I just had my cheek on my head on my cheek and with my hand in my cheek. So maybe that was muffling it somehow.
Halloween is fright. Halloween is aspiration. Halloween is a nightmare of our own creation. This is Halloween. The real Halloween. So... Please, Jack Skellington, don't listen to those ignorant fools! Halloween doesn't have to be fun. Halloween should be solemn and noble. It has to be! I thought Jack Skellington of all people would understand that he wasn't like the others. Why does he always side with them? Oh dear, how embarrassing. I forgot myself for a moment there. Mr. Skellington, ever the gentleman who would shake his head if he saw such behavior. Please, don't look so worried, Mr. Skellington. Leave everything to me. I promise I'll protect the true Halloween. Even from you! What's that noise? Is someone here? Did they realize something was afoot? How cunning. Who could it be?
Hello? Jack Skellington! If you think you can keep all the good food to yourself, think again! Give me that dinner and that bittersweet air!
I still can't believe you actually came here to eat his food.
Hmm? Scully, what are you doing here?
Grim. And you as well.
Huh? Jack sprawled out on the dinner table, snoozing away. What's he doing sleeping on the job when we've still got tons of Halloween prep work to do? Hey, Jack! Hey! Hey! Hey!
Is he gonna
Jeez.
smack him?
Can you believe this guy? He sleeps even more soundly than you, henchhuman.
Oh dear. Now that you've seen me, I suppose I'm left with no choice. Scary night!
Huh? Huh? Am I a pumpkin right now?
You're adorable.
I'd appreciate it if you could settle down for a bit in here until you revert back.
What's going on? It's dark in here.
Dear me. Grim, you really mustn't thrash about. You'll make me drop the bag with your lovely personage still inside.
The bag? Why'd you put me in a bag?
Why, to keep you from informing the others of what I did, of course. You see, I require Mr. Skellington to remain asleep for a while without anyone noticing.
Wait, does that mean you put Jack to sleep?
What? You didn't realize?
Huh? I mean, of course I realized. You're one messed up guy, Scully.
I won't tell anyone.
Oh. Oh, really? That's good to hear. We're comrades in arms, then. In which case, I trust you'll be coming with me. This will entail a slight change of plans.
And
Do
then
we-
you.
Do we need to discuss what happens next, my lovely compatriots?
Compatriot?
Throw in, stretching time. Not at all, Scully. There's no point in discussing it. The three of us have it covered.
Oh. They just had a voice changer for a second. Oh, I see.
Let's do the usual. 1, 2, 3.
Well, shall we be off? We can spend a true Halloween together. I've no doubt you'll quite enjoy it. Hee-ha-ha-ha! Oh, you made him fall asleep.
What's it gonna do now?
He's going to change his name to Trey.
Oh.
It's all for the sake of Halloween. Surely you can understand that, you? If you don't, that will pose quite the conundrum. I don't have an extra bag for you. This will entail a slight change of plans. Do we need to discuss what happens next?
I'm grabbing my phone charger.
Alrighty.
How often do you plug your phone into your couch?
Only when I'm at your place. I did it pretty often. Bless you, good sir. Thank you, good sir.
So how much? There's 13 chapters in total of book 4.
Let's do it.
So how?
Excuse me. Last big push. Halloween Town Hall.
Jack sure is taking a while. You and Grim aren't back yet either.
They're probably just fighting over the food in that basket. Graham was pretty determined to eat it.
There's no stopping Grim once he gets like that. We'll just have to trust you to rein him in.
Still, they're taking way too long.
You're right about that. I think I'll go check up on them. I'll join you. There's something I was hoping to ask Jack anyway. What's that? His thoughts on the meal. I wouldn't be able to ask with Sally around.
Of course. You're quite discreet, Jamil.
Let's be off then, shall we? Everyone else, back to Halloween prep.
Of course. It's time for our last big push. Let's all split up and finish what's left to do.
Jack's house is just up ahead. These are some steep stairs. Falling down them would be no joke. Ah! What's the matter? Giant spider. Next to the front door! Oh, that's the doorbell. Don't you have those in Twisted Wonderland? You use them to alert the people in a house that they have visitors. We have doorbells. This is just a very, distinct one. Oh, it's not a real spider. Woo! That scared the daylights out of me. Yes, it's not like my tie. Wait, what? You mean the spider you've been wearing isn't fake? It's real? He's not answering. Ha.
Oh, that right there.
Jack, you home? He's not answering. Actually, I don't even hear anyone inside. Strange. Is the door locked? Looks like it isn't. Let's take a look inside.
Following town, Jack's house.
So this is Jack's home, huh? But I don't see anyone here. Not Jack, not you, and not Grim. Did we somehow miss each other? Huh? Zero? You're here alone? What are you doing hiding under the desk? Looks like he's trying to tell us something, but I haven't the slightest idea what that could be. I speak a bit of canine. Let's see. Scully kidnapped Jack, you and Grim? What? Why would he do that? Halloween's tomorrow and Jack's not here? Please, I'm only an elected official here. I can't make decisions by myself.
An exact quote from the movie.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure.
Nice. Mayor, please, calm down. Oh, it's over! I've had a bad feeling ever since you boys showed up.
Like when he fell down the stairs. He sat around there and nothing.
I knew welcoming rapscallions into our town would only lead to trouble. I could sense the mischief rolling off you in waves. You've thought that about us this whole time? Regardless, panicking now won't solve anything. I don't know why Scully would do this, but our top priority should be tracking them down. Let's go back and fill the others in. Then again, they're split up all over town now, and our smartphones don't work here. Oh, I can help there. I've got just the thing for spreading news all over town. It's his little vehicle.
Yeah.
Story cleared. Now it's fun when we clear a story.
Exactly.
He would.
Yeah! It's even in the game. And so, in summary...
That's what Throlin's vehicle looks like when he goes around delivering.
Yes! He's so proud of it, too. He feels so cool in it. Yep! See? 100% true. I never doubted it. Throwin, you probably look so epic in that. We've got to find Jack! There's only one day left till next Halloween. Stringless Salvation! Sorry, my voice cracked, but hello, Stringless Salvation. And Fastra and Dad. Yup, you know it. We're all here doing some event action, getting our Scully on. You know how it is. Hello.
Stringless Salvation, have you seen episode 1 of the anime? And what do you think? Have you seen it in English? What do you think of the voices? Tell me everything.
Reading story, let's go! Stringless Salvation says, I have OMG, saw it in both! That's dedication right there. Me and some friends had a watch party. They're so good. We screamed. Oh, that sounds so awesome. Jade is good. Yup. Azul is good. Yup. Hey, I may be able to offer. Matt Mercer French. Ooh. That was amazing. Yeah, it was a very fun episode with all those. I didn't know we'd see everyone like that. Apple with country accent. I guess gotta start doing that. They did well. Yes. I only watched it in Japanese myself. I haven't seen the English dub.
I've only seen like the clips to hear what everybody sounds like. So I know what they sound like, but yeah. And I was all happy when Lilia showed up, and he was just like, and he was like, wow, it was really great. And I also really appreciated how the English dub people, like, they captured the essence of like the original voices. Like English dub Ruggy, he got the laugh down, like the I can't do it, but the and Idia, like his English, he got the like the can you do it? His laugh. Yeah, like he got that part, and who else?
Leona.
Yeah, he's like, oh, Ruggy, wake me up when this is over. And he's sitting in the fire.
Stringless says, you guys should watch it in both. It's so funny. Yeah. He has aura is an actual line. He has aura. Let's go. The idiot saying Azul is the goat made me cry. Azul's the goat. Let's go. The laugh. Yep. They're amazing. It made me so happy that they put in effort into the dub. Right. Fastra showed me some clips of the English dub, and from what I did hear, it sounded pretty good. Apple was so good. Apple. Oh, wait, Leona, you meant to say. Please, it's so funny. Yeah. I love how the mayor's vehicle has been puttering along this whole time.
It's spreading the info of the good news of the anime.
Oh, nice.
and this is my favorite part in the opening. It's just that like 2 seconds of when Lilia like showed up with it, like he got close to the screen, his eyes are all glowing, like woo, it's so cool. Yeah, can book 7 be animated already?
Oh, we got a long way to go. Heck yes, love this event. I was so worried at first, but they truly put effort and it made me happy. That's epic. I'm glad you enjoyed the dub, Stringless. And I do want to check it out in English. See the differences. Of course, they should have hired me, so that's my only complaint. But besides that, it was pretty good. Yes, check it out. True, they missed out. I know. I don't know. Like, I sent in my Grim reel, and they were like, nah. They didn't like it. I was so sad. Audition when they pull Scully up. Hey, I'll be Scully. Yeah. I'll be Scully gladly. I don't even need to get paid. I'll do it for free. Wait, I thought you were hired for it? I know. I thought so too, but then they wrote me back and they're like, actually, sorry, we chose someone else. It was so mean. Wolfman. Straw, do your impression of Wolfman from Alvin and the Chipmunks saying this.
3 hours.
3 hours!
Thurlin is disappointed in them.
Yeah, you can write them an email, and maybe if enough people email them, I'll get my role back as Grim. I need all of you to form search parties with anyone nearby and find Jack Skellington and his friends, please!
Following town, alleyway.
I'll write both an email and call them personally. Hello, I'd like to
Yes.
speak to someone. Why is Grim sound like that? What happened to the Grim that we should have gotten? Did he read where the location was?
I thought so. Maybe in my mind he did.
I did. I said the alleyway.
Oh, okay. And that's the gist. The mayor's driving around, alerting the townsfolk now. This is turning into a real mess. It certainly is. No wonder you came running back looking so panicked.
I never would have guessed Scully to be capable of taking such drastic measures.
Yes, I mistook him for a gentleman who prized propriety above all else. I wasn't expecting an act of violence from him. You and Grim have terrible luck getting dragged into it. I doubt Scully would treat them too horribly, but the sooner we find them, the better. Agreed. Let's search for Scully and rescue the 3 captives. Jack Skellington was the one who made the promise to send us back to Twisted Wonderland. There's no guarantee that promise would be fulfilled in his absence.
True. With the signee,
Yeah.
Signy.
Signee.
God. We can hardly expect. Oh, yeah, contract. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Our contract's terms to be honored.
Exactly. Time is of the essence here. If this year's Halloween is a bust, that's extremely bad for us. And if we don't find Jack until after Halloween is already over, what then? I wouldn't put it past him to tell us to stick around and make sure next year's Halloween is a success. He would?
While I do enjoy Halloween, spending an entire year preparing non-stop for one holiday would bore me to tears.
There's an even bigger issue here. If we spent a year out of school, we'd absolutely be held back. I think you're both missing the real key issue here. I could never endure a whole year eating this awful sloth they call food. None of you are worried about what actually matters here! Good grief! Is it just us in this area? So this is the group I'm stuck searching for Scully with. Great. Just great.
Following town, plaza. Did you hear the loudspeaker just now?
Yes, sir. This is turning into a real mess.
Scully, that utter nincompoop! Could someone who goes on and on about revering Jack Skeleton do something so contrary to that ideal? Single-handedly will ruin all of our hard work.
Yeah, not to mention you and Grim are missing too. We'd better find them fast.
And let's find Scully and make him realize exactly whose bad side he's gotten himself on. I believe it's just the 4 of us here. We'll have to look for Scully ourselves.
4? Between you, me, and Sebek, I'm only counting 3 of us.
We'll also be taking the lump cowering behind the cover over there. Of course. Come on out, human. Don't bother trying to hide.
How'd you know I was there? I was breathing as quiet as I could.
Did you think someone as suspicious as yourself would escape my notice? If this Halloween isn't a success, we'll have no way of returning to Mount Malleus to Twisted Wonderland. I won't allow anyone to escape. We shall venture out to search for Scully with our full force brought to bear.
Yeah! I've got no issue with venturing out or whatever. But working with you guys is, well...
Come along, Edea.
Whoa! Let go of me! No, I don't want to get dragged along with Team Spartan! I mean, come on. This is Jack we're talking about. He'll probably give Scully the slip and come back on his own. So someone ought to stay with Zero and wait in case he shows up, right? That could be me.
This is no time for spouting nonsense. Hold on a minute. Zero's had plenty of exposure to Grimm's scent. We could use that. I heard Zero over the mic while the mayor was talking. They should be together. Humans, before we go searching for Jack, let's play Zero a quick visit.
Hopefully Mr. Zero can help.
I'd really rather not. Halloween Town at the gate.
I see. This is certainly unexpected.
Stupid badger. Why do you have to pull such a boneheaded stunt? I guess I'll have to find him and get this mess sorted myself.
Where are you going, King Scholar? Do you intend to handle this matter alone?
Figured that much was obvious. I'm under no obligation to team up with you just because you happen to be nearby.
The Child of Man's whereabouts are also unknown. We cannot risk the worst coming to pass. In the interest of as swift a resolution as possible, I'd prefer to avoid wasting any time.
Oh yeah, the only way I'd be wasting time is by sticking with you. Or does the great and powerful Malleus Draconia have trouble functioning if he's not constantly surrounded by retainers? Goodness, I'm ever so sorry. You must have been scared of being left all alone and helpless, you poor thing.
Can you not see that I was trying to spare you the embarrassment of being outplayed by Graves?
You think I'd lose to that little badger? Just worry about yourself.
If you insist, you shall rue your refusal of my goodwill soon enough. What's this? Here I thought you had no desire for us to work together.
I was already heading this way. Not my fault you decided to tag along.
I sensed someone's presence in the mansion further up. It was you who followed me.
You're not the only one who can pick up on presences. I'll check it out. You go search someone else.
No, I'll go.
Why do you always act like a spoiled brat?
Spoiled brat? Just who do you think you're talking to?
A spoiled brat. Am I supposed to go with them? Just me and the two guys who get along as well as cats and dogs? I'd rather not. I'd really rather not. Hello? Is there anyone else around? Nope. Oh boy. We'll just quietly slip out while they're bickering and find another group instead.
This is getting us nowhere. Clover, weigh in. What do you think?
Oh, me? Sure, why not? Let's ask him which of us is right, me or you. Who's right? I'm not sure either of you are. If you're both going the same direction anyway, I don't see why you even need to argue about it.
Oh, poor Trey. I like that he wanted to go off and look for another group. Choose Riddle.
Out of the woodwork.
Where at?
Oh, Joles's
Uh-oh.
Halloween Town alleyway.
Just where could Scully be? Do you guys have any ideas? I can't say I do, I'm afraid. I don't even know what Scully's goal is. Not to mention we hardly know anything about Halloween Town. A manhunt in a strange land. This does sound like an uphill battle. Yeah, and Halloween's just hours away. If we run around with no leads, we'll miss the deadline in no time. At times like these, we need to formulate a plan and proceed with caution, or... Ugh! Is someone there? Oh, it's just a rat! That's a common enough sight in Halloween Town.
Whatever's the matter, Jamil? You've gone rigid, and you're standing on the tips of your toes.
Nothing. Just... Oh, did you think it was a bug? Look, what do you expect? Halloween Town's crawling with the things! Where did they even come from? You can't look anywhere without seeing a line of them creeping and crawling. Right in broad daylight, too! Do they style themselves as full-fledged Halloween Town residents? I can't stand that brazen attitude of theirs! What is Jamil angry about? It's hard to say, but he must have been holding this in ever since we came to Halloween Town. Honestly, my heart skips a beat every time I hear a noise. There's no telling when they might come skittering out of the woodwork. Wait.
I didn't think you'd freak out that bad.
Luck? You've got a lot of nerve showing your face around us. According to Zero, you and your prankster friends are in cahoots with Scully.
We sure are. After all, what could be a funnier prank than kidnapping Jack right before Halloween? Scully said to play with you guys until Halloween hits, so here I am. What you want to play?
Ah, now I get it. He ordered you to stall us. It is rather funny, though I'd be more amused if our own futures were not at stake.
You are the dictionary definition of a moth drawn to the flame lock. You tell us where Scully is this instant!
You think I'll tell you just because you're acting all bossy? What are you, stupid?
Stupid? Did you just call me stupid? You have some nerve! Prepare yourself! Oh, ghosties.
へえ、いい度胸が終わりだね。
いい時計がある。
わかった。俺に指図とはな。甘いよ。悪い。そうだね。反論はなし。
Double riddle!
さあ行くよ。
Let's go, riddles!
教育に大切なのは飴と。
At a loss for words. Halloween Town in the alleyway.
Alright, caught him!
Oh, let me go. If you're mean to me, I'm gonna tell the boss on you.
Don't worry. We'll play nice as long as you answer our questions. I'll ask you again, Locke. Do you know where Scully is?
Yeah, I know.
Really?
He's in town hall. Everyone's just sitting around being pals. There, I answered your question. Now let me go. What? Why are you guys smirking like that?
Did you actually think we'd believe you? We know you kids are shameless liars. No offense, but we'll need some verification.
What kind of verification?
Jade.
かしこまりました。
Tashtukarimasta.
Perfect.
かしこまりました。
Tashtukarimashita.
Don't be afraid. I want to help you. Shock the heart. You must answer my questions truthfully. Do you know where Scully J. Graves is right now?
I do.
And where is he?
Took Jack, the weird cat, and the cat's owner to the hill past the graveyard.
So that's where he really is. I knew that kid was lying the first time. Good thing we have Jade here. That just saved us an entire wild goose chase. A signature spell that makes anyone speak the truth just once. That's quite insidious.
Why, thank you.
Well, let's pay Scully a visit, shall we?
Huh? What was I doing again?
Locke? Why did I have an echo? Who's met by me? You're free to go now.
Whoa, really? I'm off the hook?
Yeah, we don't have any more questions for you. Besides, we wouldn't get rough with the kid.
Gosh, you guys are so nice. It's an inspiration. Tell you what, I'll give you something nice to make up for my brain.
What's that?
Here.
Oh dear, Locke just threw a large caterpillar.
That's a sentence I didn't expect to see today.
And it landed right on Jamil's forehead.
He's not even trying to bat it away. He's just frozen stiff. Poor soul.
If you really feel sorry for him, get the bug off. You're truly deplorable. There, Jamil. I've removed the offending bug. Honestly, though, have you no discipline? All of this over a little caterpillar.
You.
Thank you, Riddle. Thank you. I owe you my life. I think you're blowing this out of What? The caterpillar. Look at it. Oh, stop! Get away from me with that thing! It's the same length as my forefinger, and we all know what that means. Rule 434! If you see a caterpillar exactly 7 centimeters high, you must recite a poem to its discoverer. You're bringing rules into this?
Huh? What are you talking about? That doesn't make sense.
I couldn't agree more. I'm at a loss for words. Of all the times to stumble across one of those ridiculous rule scenarios. Luck, I'm going to recite a poem to you. Now listen closely.
No way, that sounds boring. I don't wanna.
That's too bad! I need you to listen to my poem. Those are the rules!
Jeez, why are you so intense? It's a bunch of nonsense. It's weirding me out.
Wait! Since you showed us a caterpillar exactly 7 centimeters long, you must listen to my poem!
No.
Can you say it again? It cut you out entirely.
No, I don't wanna.
Riddle, where are you going? We need to head to where Scully is. Oh dear, he's chasing Locke back down the road we just came from. This is getting out of hand. Agreed. Let's just ignore Riddle and get moving, so we can... We need to protect Locke! What? Think about it. If Riddle flies off the handle and does any harm to that child, all of us could get sued by their guardian! Have you completely lost the plot too? We agreed to go to the hill! Jade, you take care of the rest.
All right. See you soon.
And he's gone. What is wrong with those two?
What do you think is wrong with those two?
With Scully.
No, the two who ran off.
Uh-oh.
Give me a second. You truly mean that? Town alleyway.
Fine. I guess we just have to do what needs to be done ourselves.
Understood. Let's work together. And capture Locke.
What? Why?
We capture Locke before Azul and Riddle can manage it. Oh, just imagine their looks of surprise.
We know where Scully is. We don't even need Locke for anything else. So why are none of you heading toward the hill? Remember, if we can't pull off this Halloween, we won't be able to go back to Twisted Wonderland. We were supposed to head to the hill and get Jack Skellington back ASAP. That was the entire plan. But no, these people. I knew those two don't work well with others, but I still figured we could easily subdue Scully with them on our team. Their bizarre strictness and weirdly broad benevolence is seriously something else. It utterly eclipses anything I'm capable of.
You truly do prize your plans, don't you, Jamil? I suppose that's why you're vice housewarden of Scarabia, the dorm of mindfulness.
Of course I do. That's reasonable, as opposed to certain people who show no regard whatsoever for what's currently at stake.
True, they're certainly rash. Azul sets high targets, leaps for them, falls flat on his face, then pops back up again like a tilting doll. And Riddle, for all his extolling of strict etiquette and rules, is capable of absurdly drastic measures when he grows agitated. Even I often find myself stunned at their behavior and remark to myself, something is very wrong with that individual.
Now you're trashing them relentlessly. I agree with everything you just said, but where are you going with this?
Thing is, I find it difficult to disregard their sixth sense as well as my own.
Sixth sense? Ha! Seems more like just chasing after run-of-the-mill hunches. Have a thought for those of us who's subjected to the whims of such vague feelings.
Subjected, That's a fair complaint. They don't remotely fear making fools of themselves or failing, or incurring grudges from others with their self-centered conduct.
Again, where are you going with this? Are you insinuating that in contrast to them, I'm a coward afraid to act for fear of failure?
Not in the least. The point I'm making is, those two are almost certainly putting on some truly hilarious sketch comedy. We should go have a laugh at them together.
That's not funny! Look, you're the only one who can get the prankster trio to tell the truth. None of the others have any way to discern fact from fiction. They're probably scrambling around without any decent leads. What happens if Jack's rescue comes too late for Halloween to happen?
Don't worry. Our group is comprised of exceptional individuals. I'm certain they'll find Scully eventually. In fact, don't you feel as though our group is capable of something, considering we've pinpointed Scully's location this quickly?
And that something is capturing Locke and bragging to Azul and Riddle? That's ludicrous! We can't even get any more intel out of Locke. There's no point whatsoever in... No, wait.
What is it?
Okay, I'm with you. Let's follow Riddle and Azul.
Wait, you truly mean that?
Don't act so shocked when it was your proposal in the first place. Heh, I've got an idea.
What a bunch of weirdos. Just listen, it won't take long, he says. Actually, buy that. Ugh, I'm sick and tired of running away. I'll just hide somewhere nearby.
Found you, Locke.
It's the caterpillar guy.
Who are you calling Caterpillar Guy? Cut it out. Just hearing that word gives me goosebumps.
Look, Locke, would you be willing to come with us?
You already said you were done with me. Why are you chasing me now?
We've had a change of plans. You see, I'm a coward at heart. I'm afraid of failure, and I'm also afraid of making a public fool of myself. But I'm very good at making plans one step ahead of others.
Jamil, did you take my prior remarks personally?
Not in the least! If you've got the time to go on irrelevant tangents, get on with the capture.
Consider it done.
Locke's gonna send some ghosts.
俺のかっこいいとこ拡散してね。
かっこいい。
悪くない。手本を見せよう。避けてみた。残念な。
ナイス。
それでよろしい。
邪魔もあり。様子見。
Woo!
ほら。
Ghosts bodied.
You mean ghosts, ghouls, and monsters?
Yes. Apples.
Apples.
What's it called?
Right under your nose. Halloween Town in the plaza. Not a single soul in sight. I suppose everyone must be out looking for Jack.
It was so busy here before. It feels way more eerie when it's all quiet like this.
Jack! skeleton! You, Grim! If you're there, say so! No answer. You scared the daylights out of me. Could you not yell at the top of your lungs right next to me like that?
My ears are ringing. Did you forget the part about Scully putting Jack to sleep? He wouldn't be able to answer you even if he was here. And in what world would you expect abductees to actually be like, I'm right here? It'd be common sense to gag them or duct tape their mouths so they can't talk.
No, idiot. It's so impressive how knowledgeable you are about abduction methodology.
You don't have to make fun of me, you know.
We don't have time to search around at random. Is there anything that might help us retrace Scully's steps?
Bill.
For example, does anyone know what Scully's favorite place in this area is? I doubt someone as sentimental as him would lock up someone he respects in a filthy hovel. Wouldn't he choose a favorite spot when he feels is befitting of Jack?
Knowing Scully, he's probably got literally all of Halloween Town listed in his favorites. True. Scully was gushing about every single place we visited.
I have no idea. I have no ideas to offer there, but something occurred to me when you mentioned he'd taken Jack's skeleton with him. If Jack was asleep, it would be rather difficult to carry an unconscious person, well, skeleton. No matter how bare bones Jack may be, he's still quite tall. Someone inexperienced with such things would have struggled to haul around someone so lanky that when they're unconscious. I mean, it's a safe assumption that Scully hasn't gotten very far. Goodness. Sometimes your insights astound me. I suppose there's a reason the phrase right under your nose exists. Let's try looking near Jack's house.
Sebek.
I believe his residence was this way, Harry. Hurry.
Not so fast. You're not taking another step.
You!
That's you, that cookie man?
Miscreant!
His name's Beryl.
You have a lot of nerve showing your face in front of us. What do you want with us? I don't suppose you're here to tell us where Jack is out of the goodness of your heart.
No, I promised Scully I'd play with you until Halloween was over.
You didn't keep your word when you promised me you wouldn't start any uproars, but you're willing to keep your word with Scully.
Huh? I don't remember saying that. Yeah.
What an excellent little monster you are. You're in for the scolding of a lifetime.
Now Beryl's gonna send ghosts after us.
ここは俺の縄張りっす。
Gary Ghost.
あるね。
いいぜ。
邪魔もあり。
情けねえ面するな。
考えたな。
考えなんてな。
うまい飯にありつけそう。
That was almost one. Pause. Halloween Town Plaza.
It's because the thing and the at 2 to like get the stuff. So usually we would have stopped by now.
The ghosts here seem so different from those of Twisted Wonderland. And more freewheeling and cryptic than the ones in our world.
They're extremely quirky. Nothing we say gets through to them at all. It's a huge hassle.
They're certainly pesky. We can't even leave this area, much less search for Jack. Judging by our prior conversation, I doubt we can get this miscreant to tell us where Jack is. And even if we could, we've no way to gauge the veracity of his claims. True, we'd be wasting our time trying to engage him as a group. Apple and I will handle this. Idea and Sebek, you two go on without us. What? I need to punish this irksome miscreant. You should search for Scully instead. Silence, Cucumber. Cucumber! It's clear that a lone Cucumber going up against a swarm of ghosts would get surrounded and thoroughly thrashed. Besides which, I'm tired of your company. You're loud and insufferable, not to mention rude. I trust you won't disappoint me with such behavior, Apple.
Phil! Yes, sir! I'll do my best to try to make myself useful. Though I might just steal your spotlight.
Old words.
You have my figurative sword as well.
I don't want it. Weren't you listening? You're going with Sebek.
But I don't wanna. You're not the only guy tired of being around him, you know.
What good would it do for two house wardens to stay behind? Show the freshmen what leadership looks like.
Oof. Now I'm getting saddled with a huge chore. Being a house warden is way more trouble than it's worth.
While I take extreme umbrage at being passed around like some kind of hot potato, fact remains we have no time for bickering. I shall leave this battle to you, humans. Oh, God. Oh, those two are gonna yell at me, call me names. I better go after them quick. Not so fast. You won't be taking another step. I don't have time to play with you guys. Oh, really? I thought you were supposed to play with us until Halloween's over. Little Apple here has taken quite a shine to you. Very nice, won't you?
Yeah, Beryl. We've got plenty of time. You and I are gonna play a whole lot. Wait, pause. I can't handle any more running.
What? You want another break? You sat plenty when we were at Jack's house.
Look, could you please not compare my stamina to that of a guy who's literally all muscle from head to toe? We've been running ourselves ragged checking every single potentially suspicious spot near Jack's place. And we haven't turned up any sign of Scully.
What, but our search area has only been 100-meter radius around Jack's house.
We're not gonna find him running around at random. We need to pause for a moment, chill, and rework our plan.
Oh, it's always something with you, isn't it? We don't have time to pause.
Huh? Why are you crouching down in front of me? Like you're gonna... Whoa!
I'll carry you on my back. You can rack your brains for ideas in the meantime.
What? So I'm stuck on a piggyback ride until I come up with some genius idea? I don't like running, but I take issue with this, too. And I can't exactly conjure up inspiration on demand. Okay, let's see. What if we change up our angle of approach? Like, I don't know, if we can't find Scully, we could flush him out instead.
Flush them out? I hadn't considered that. Of course, someone who never leaves the house would have a different perspective. Your reclusive nature's coming in handy for once.
Uh-huh.
I can think of several ways to force him out of his hole. Fire, inundation, a smoke attack, starvation, tactics.
Preferably something less violent and more short-term. Okay, thanks.
In that case, I should shout criticisms at Jack. Of Jack.
What? Why?
Speaking in purely hypothetical terms, describing a scenario that I would hope never, ever actually comes to pass. If I heard someone speaking ill of Malleus, I absolutely would not let it go unchallenged. I would give such scoundrels a thorough lecture about Malleus's greatness and make them take back their disrespectful remarks. If Scully's respect for Jack is genuine, then surely he would do the same for Jack. With that settled...
Stop! Think this through, Sebek. If you raise your voice here...
Quit thrashing about on my back! Sit still and stay put! Oh, he dumped him.
Oof. Ow, my hip bone. I'll consider it a plus that I got out of the involuntary piggyback ride, but... Oh, crud!
Jack Skellington, do you hear me? You worthless assemblage of bones! How could you let yourself be kidnapped by Scully of all people? Some master of Halloween you are!
Dude, no way. Did he seriously get mad and come out over that? Ooh.
Oh no, more ghosts. A fresh patch, it seems.
They're royally peeved. This is your fault for trashing Jack so loudly, Sebek.
I can't argue. We can't do anything if we don't get out of this mess first. Hide!
Ghosts, ghouls, and monsters have all shown up.
Are you excited about ghost, ghouls, and monsters?
Who isn't?
Media.
Our power levels.
That sounds like a Minecraft creature.
Yeah. Roar. The ghosts aren't showing any signs of leaving. If anything, they're building in numbers.
Get back.
We can't hide here forever. If we don't do something, insults will never be disproven. Entirely unacceptable. I'll handle the ghost, Idia. You search for Scully in the meantime.
What? Dude, absolutely not. There's no way you can handle that many. Have you already forgotten what Phil said? You'll get surrounded and thoroughly thrashed.
I refuse to shy away from a challenge just because it looks difficult, and the outcome is hardly clear until I try.
No, it's P clear. You're gonna lose, guaranteed. 100%. It's impossible. It's impossible. As in, literally not possible. Dashing yourself on the rocks of an unwinnable battle is beyond pointless. If you want to indulge in the trope of a weakling going into battle with the odds stacked against them, do it on your own and don't involve me.
Step back.
Did you just call me? And that worked. A weakling?
Let's not get violent. You're gonna rip off my bow tie.
How dare you call me a weakling? This insult shall not stand.
Okay, but you are. I mean, sure, you've got stamina for days, but your magic could use some work, right? You're freshman level at very best, basically on par with guys like Epple or Scully. First I thought maybe you're just hopeless with strategy, the way you were firing spells head-on at ghosts that could easily dodge them. But it's actually because you're bad at controlling your magic, isn't it? I can tell you're the type that's high output and low control. I don't want to hear about matters of pride from a guy who can't or won't openly acknowledge his own skill issue.
Well, what do you want from me? I know better than anyone. I'm not strong enough. I'm reminded of it every day I spend training. But the last thing I want is to say I didn't even try just because I wasn't strong enough.
If you're asking what I want, this is why Phil sent me along, right?
What?
You go on without me. I'll handle things here.
Idea. Why are you suddenly acting so theatrical?
Dude, come on. I just wanted to be the stoic, go on without me, I got this guy.
Huh.
The cooler thing for you to do would have been to go, I owe you, and then run off dramatically.
You're the ones who've been whining nonstop for breaks. Of course, talking heroically out of nowhere would throw me for a loop.
Well, that's the deal regardless. If you want to prove Bill wrong about you, you don't exactly have time to bandy words with me. Get going and do your heroics or whatever. I don't want to run anymore.
Is that your real motivation?
Yeah, it's like I said, don't compare me to a musclehead like you.
Now I feel like a fool for being moved. You're truly welcome. You're truly irksome. I find your company less bearable by the moment.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Let's get one thing straight. This is the last time I will ever do as you say, human.
Yeah. Run along now. He's finally gone. Normally, I could absolutely not be bothered to give something like this a serious effort. Way too much hassle. But it'd be a pretty bad look if I didn't win after sending Sebek on his way. With that in mind, guess I'll show you guys the difference in our power levels. Yes! I've always wanted to say that!
Yes! I've always wanted to say that.
Yeah.
I'll mop this up in one turn.
OK
正解だ
Okay.
身の程を分か
うまい飯にありつけそうっす
Woo, I'll be feasting tonight.
We're almost there.
We got this.
We got 3 in this little section, and then 13, which is by itself.
By itself.
Give me a second. Who do you think you are?
Malleus.
I think it's interesting. Leon is the only one with the guts to stand up to Malleus and actually tell him what he thinks of him.
Yeah.
Don't encourage her. Calling town gate. Thought I'd pick up some traces, but they turned out to be the Halloween Town locals. What a waste of time that was. They were in too much of a tizzy over Jack being missing to even say where they'd seen Scully. Whether they'd seen Scully. Then a certain lizard freaked out even worse, and they all ran before I could get anything useful out of them. Can you think of anything more annoying, Trey?
And who is to blame for this wasted time, If we wanted to question the locals, we should have done as I suggested and enshrouded the city in magic so that no one could escape. Isn't it a pity that someone wouldn't listen to my sensible advice, Clover?
Guys, could you please not use me as an intermediary for your arguments? Let's start by discussing how we're going to look for Scully. After all, 3 of us are all here together. For one thing, do we have any ideas why Scully would abduct Jack to start with? Doesn't he idolize Jack Skellington? It's probably because he idolized him. Jack Skellington was putting our opinions over his at pretty much every turn. Understandable why that might rub someone's fur the wrong way.
Truly? But did he not say that he accepted our idea of Halloween?
Are you serious? It's easy to say something without actually meaning it. He was pretty defeated back there. Kept sighing to himself all and everything. Really? If you noticed that, you could have tried to cheer him up a bit. Jamil was on top of that every time it came up. No reason for me to step in. But I wasn't expecting a hassle this big to come out of it. That stupid badger's a real nuisance.
There it is. Scully's pretty stupid, all right. Just like you guys.
Shock! What are you doing here? Well, I'll be. One of Skellington's kidnappers came to face us all alone. You're brave, I'll give you that.
want to play with me?
Whoa, she just slept on Malleus's head again.
If you want to play that bad, I guess I'll throw you a bone. Got any games on your phone?
Ha! You're letting a little brat tug at your horns. What a nice guy you are. Leona, this is not the time to have a laugh at his expense. Hold on, Malleus. I'll get Shock off you so...
Oh.
Like I'd ever let you grab me.
I thought that was Malleus saying that.
Come on now. He couldn't do as we... Ah! She gave me the slip. Leona, help me out here. That a girl, Shock. Oh wait, that a girl, Shock. Keep it up. Don't encourage her.
Your name is Shock, isn't it? Is it? I may be lenient, but even my patience has its limits. One slight I could overlook, but two! I shall make you rue the day you ever crossed me.
Eh?
始めようか。
始めよう。
加減はなし。
One shot.
すべてうま。
すべて。
Leona logic.
Muscle-brained logic. Halloween Town Gate.
What's the matter? I thought you wanted to play with me. Come now, don't be shy. I'll be more than happy to play your game.
There's lightning bolts.
Now, yes, stop. Don't get so bent out of shape over a child. Haven't you scared her enough?
Enough? Surely you're joking, Clover. Mannerless curs deserve far more punishment than this.
No, seriously, if you keep this up, it's going to go way beyond punishment.
Even if it did, is there any reason that should concern us?
You bet your hide there is. Remember what Jack Skellington said? He said he wanted to hold Halloween with everyone in Halloween Town. That includes this kid. If you hurt her to the point where she can't take part in Halloween, Skellington's not going to thank us for saving him. He'll easily turn on us instead.
They started this dispute, not us. I'm certain Skellington would understand once we explained our side.
Okay, let me see if I've got this straight. If it was someone from your kingdom and they got injured, you'd instantly agree it was their own fault. No argument at all?
What a troublesome situation. Shock. In honor of your king, Jack Skellington, I shall stay my hand.
I was just doing what Scully said. Why is this happening to me? It's not fair.
Look's running away. Shock's running away. In her defense, it's pretty messed up of Scully to tell anyone to try and stall you two. I never do anything like that. I feel kind of bad for her, honestly.
Graves is indeed foolish for trying to slow me down with such pitiful ghosts.
took the words right out of my mouth. Huh? Leona, are you actually agreeing about Malleus's power?
Did you hit your head on something, King Scholar?
No, my head's in perfectly fine shape. Something's been bugging me for a while, though. Who is Scully? Well, his name's Scully J. Graves, and he's from some small remote town nobody's ever heard of. Okay, and why would a 16-year-old mage venture out from his small town to Sages Island entirely on his own? My guess would be to visit relatives, or maybe to go to school.
Ah,
You keep doing that today.
sorry.
Those are the most obvious answers, yeah. So at first I figured he must be a student at Royal Sword Academy. But I haven't been able to shake this nagging feeling that something's off. Really? He talks and acts so much like a gentleman, I figured it had to be at Royal Sword Academy or nothing. Not that part. I'm talking about his weirdly skewed knowledge. Why wouldn't he know who Malleus is, even when regular people know he's an infamous mage? Even if he grew up in the sticks, there's no excuse for an Arcane Academy student on Sages Island to not know who Malleus is. You'd have to be literally living under a rock to be that ignorant.
There was one person who didn't know who I was.
Yeah, well, use an exception. Coming from a different world is a legitimate excuse. It'd be one thing if Scully was actually stupid, but he's not. He's a smart guy, and he's capable of using magic. Wow, I'm surprised. And what? Hearing you acknowledge that Malleus is famous? My acknowledgement's not going to do it. Got nothing to do with it. The lizard's practically a household name. That's just plain a simple fact. And I didn't say he was famous, I said infamous. There are tons of people who tremble in fear at his many misdeeds. You know all about that, right, Trey?
What?
So back to what you were saying, Leona. You think Scully lied when he said he went up to an Arcade Academy? There's a chance, yeah, but I don't know why he'd lie about that to people he just met. Yeah. Yeah. The more I think about it, the more puzzling Scully is.
Does the truth matter, though? Regardless of his identity, he chose to turn against us, so we have but to subdue him. If we tie him up and interrogate him, surely he'll share all that he's hiding.
All the muscle-brained logic, whatever. Trying to reason with you isn't going to get us anywhere at all. Whoa, hey, Leona. And he's going off alone.
What a self-centered person. The moment someone voices disagreement with him, he storms off.
Let's be fair. You heard what he said, right? All of his concerns stem from the fact that he recognizes how powerful you are.
Are you taking King Scholar's side, Clover?
What? Not at all. I think your stance is completely reasonable. It's generally better to solve trouble like this as quickly and expediently as possible. I'm sure you and Grim are miserable right now. This is the sort of thing magic is there for.
Precisely. Gray's identity is far less pressing than rescuing Skellington and the others. I'm glad you appreciate my reasoning, Clover.
I wouldn't go blowing it out of proportion. I just get where you're coming from. Anyway, we better follow Leona. You and the others need all the time they can get.
Time?
Oops.
They need all the help they can get.
Say all the help they can get.
All the help they can get. A common enemy. A common enemy. Halloween Town Plaza. What? Now you're following me?
I was simply deferring to Clover.
I'd rather you didn't tag along if all you're going to do is take verbal pot shots. Both of you, can we please not? You know we have more important concerns right now. We need to find Jack and ensure Halloween's a success if we want to make it back home. We haven't even found Shock yet. Let's focus on problem solving, okay? Okay, here we are, the plaza. I don't see any Halloween Town locals around, though. They're probably out looking for Skellington. Oh, they're probably out looking for Skellington. Jack, where are you? I know that voice.
Please, Jack, answer if you can hear me.
Oh, hey, it's Sally.
Ah, Leona, Trey, Melius.
I take it you're searching for a skeleton as well, Sally.
Yes, I am. Once I heard he'd been kidnapped, I could hardly just sit around. So I've been checking every building in the area, one at a time.
Very well. I shall assist you.
You're gonna search the whole town center without even narrowing things down? That's ridiculous.
It's not that large. A magical scan to detect presences should hardly take any time at all.
If you were going to use magic that large scale, Scully would detect our presence and run off.
That's hardly a concern. If he spots us, I'll simply capture him before he can flee.
That guy and his attitude. Now, I think this is his way of trying to play nice. He took it to heart when you said we should respect the residents of town. Let's give them a second. Are you taking his side? What? Not at all. I think your stance is completely reasonable. It's true that in emergencies, it's important to formulate a proper plan. You should use your head instead of expecting magic to solve everything.
Thanks for the hydrate time, Throwlin.
I got my water.
You too. So you do get it. Malleus's whole approach is just crude.
Gotta stay hydrated. Hey, let's go, Throwlin.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree? Absolutely. I know you're taking pains to minimize the damage from this mess, and I support you in that. But Malleus hasn't been outside of Briar Valley for long. I think you should be the bigger man.
They messed it up.
I think you should be the bigger man. You can always compensate for anything Malleus is ignorant about, right? You hear that, Malleus? Huh?
Oh, yes. Quite clearly, King Scholar.
Malleus? What happened to helping Sally search for Jack?
We finished.
That was quick.
I was wondering why King Scholar was shooting me pointed looks, and lo and behold. I never took you for a fraud, Clover. Who would have expected that you'd try to curry favor with both of us? Why, I almost believed every word you said.
That's the kind of guy he is. He probably does this all the time, even in Heartslabule.
Slay.
He's a Heartslabule.
Heartslabule.
La.
Heartslabule.
There you go.
You see that, Malleus? World's got no shortage of people who lie through their teeth. They're the worst kind of people. You gotta watch out for them.
Indeed. So I have learned.
I wasn't lying through my teeth. I just thought it'd be nice if you two could get along a little better.
Well, well. Your consideration is appreciated. That said...
You know what the biggest unifier of all is?
A common
enemy. You don't mean me, right? You'll do.
You people, what are you doing here?
Doc. Oh, thank goodness it's you.
You're happy to see me?
Yes. I need to have a word with you. Can we chat over there real quick?
I don't have anything to say to you. Whatever it is you want, leave me out of it.
Ghosties.
心配するな。すべてうまく。秘策を取る。許可しよう。サポートはない。地の果てに消えろ。
Get up!
踊らせてやろう。
28 health left. There we go. Stacy Joanne, did you hydrate? Good question, Throwlin.
Halloween Town Plaza. Chuck, wait. You'd be helping me out.
What to help you out?
They ran off. What now?
I'll go after Clover. I believe he and I have much to discuss. I trust you'll be able to handle yourself alone.
Of course. Who do you think you're talking to? Just tell Trey that once we get back, I want to have a word with him, too.
So I shall.
Last chapter of the night, y'all.
Ah, sweet.
Most impressive, Zero. Graveyard Gate. No sign of Scully here either. Has that scoundrel taken Jack Skellington? There's little time left until Halloween. I need to find him, and quickly. That bark. Dog. Why are you so agitated? Wait. Have you located Scully and the others? You need to pause between statements or I won't be able to make out what you're saying. Bark more slowly.
He's part of the outfit.
Oh.
Oh, I see. My plan has borne fruit. Jack Skellington's scent lingers all over town, so it would be difficult to sniff him out. We've only been here a few days, hardly enough time to cover every possible area. So I thought Grimm's scent would be easier to trace than Jack's. Please, this wasn't my doing. You deserve the credit for memorizing Grimm's scent. Your olfactory senses are most impressive, Zero. I shall rescue your owner soon enough. Now, quickly, show me the way to Grimm.
Grimm-san. Bill! Look, cleared. So why is the Halloween event finishing after Halloween?
エペルさんが魔女とほうきで飛ぶ速さを競っていました。不気味な街でも無邪気にはしゃげる神経に感嘆します。
What are you gonna do with your new Veil card? No, Fastra. What is going on with the straw? Yes, Fastra. Throwin says, I thought it was cheese. Do you like my cheese, Throwin? Looks really good, doesn't it?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Where'd you go?
It just stopped. Like you guys did, and I couldn't hear you guys at all.
Oh no. He has the cheese touch! Uh-oh, everyone watching the stream right now has the cheese touch. Oh no.
Yeah, it's like macaroni and cheese, so I just kind of shortened it by saying macaroni. But it is interchangeable. Okay, I just need to collect the thing, and then we'll be done. Someone sent me a friend request.
Juice. Dieu.
Here you go. It's Deville.
Look at him. Epic.
これぞハロウィン。ジャックさんと一緒にどんなハロウィンを作ろうかしら。
Good old Kashida. And you gotta do the little missions.
Yeah. No more Azul. I liked him because he got like really glitched that one time.
See, look. See, I can have this or swap looks to include the dog.
Oh, I see.
That's why I did like an outfit reveal thing when you're just kind of looking exactly the same.
Uh-huh.
どんな恐怖が欲しいの?
Are you gonna get him up to level 20?
Yep.
この服
Oh, wait, Throlin says some mac and cheese sounds good right now.
Yeah.
Get yourself some mac and cheese. Here, look, I'll make you think about it. Look at that, look at that. Stop it! Wah-ha-ha-ha. I've got you trapped, Throlin. Not the cheese! Bask in the cheese.
They're great. So instead of going to 20, went to 25. With less item.
Nice job.
Skip to... Woo, wow, woo, woo.
あんたも少しは様になってきたじゃない。今なら私の隣に立つことを許してあげる。
And what's the last thing? Oh, this.
「あんたといると時間が経つのを早く感じる。会話に夢中になっている証拠かしら。私を楽しませるなんてやるじゃない。思ったより片付いてるのね。私の
What if I collect them all at once? Not that. Yay! See, with only 12 minutes to spare.
Wow.
Huh.
It's in Pacific time.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Any new backgrounds?
ようこそミスター S のミステリーショップへ。
Oh wait, I just can't see. There we go. It's this place.
Yeah.
Beanie beanie brown. All right, everybody. That was a really epic stream.
Just over 3 hours.
3 hours?
Mm-hmm. Somehow. I've been going for 3 hours.
Felt like one.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I agree. It felt very much shorter than that.
I didn't expect the little kid people to be like mini bosses.
So yeah. So when's part 5 coming?
In 11 minutes. So if we were crazy, we could finish the event in 11 minutes. But we shall wait.
Throlin says 3 hours. I thought it was at least 20 minutes. You got that right. Well, this is a very spooky way to spend the night of Halloween.
Yes.
Very fun. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you for coming to the stream, Throlin, Aru, and Stacy, Joanne. Thank you guys. I really appreciate y'all coming by. And good stream like always. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will be taking my leave now and heading to bed. If you ever find yourself craving mac and cheese but you can't get any, then you take care out there.
Take care out there.